Good evening. Today we continue with our explorations in Savitri.
We'll be starting from page 208. I just checked it out and my mark is also there.
208.
Yes, the next page.
Okay.
We have finished a few pages and 208 we'll be starting.
This is, of course, Book 2, the book of the Traveler of the Worlds, Canto 7, the Descent into Night. And as always, we have the blessing of having Alok with us. Namaste. I want to begin, before we enter this 76th exploration, with these words that you've all read on the Samadhi, inscribed there for all time. To thee, who hast been the material envelope of our Master, to thee our infinite gratitude. Before thee, who hast done so much for us, who hast worked, struggled, suffered, hoped, endured so much. Before thee, who hast willed all, attempted all, prepared, achieved all for us. Before thee, we bow down and implore that we may never forget, even for a moment, all we owe to thee. Are we at the break?
Yes. So today is the day which in India it's the battle going on with the demon. Durga and the demons, which ends in victory. And it's interesting that we are entering into night, of course, with Aurobindo. So there is a difference in entering into night, which anyway surrounds our lives, and entering into it with the help, light, guidance, grace, love, protection of the Mother and Aurobindo.
Yes.
At some point, we all confront this night within us. It's the shadow, and the battle is within us. But one thing is there, that this time there is a change of plan. Every time God went into the citadel of night as an avatar, he went, won the victory and came back. For some time this victory was maintained. But because the roots have not dried up, roots of evil, it springs up again. There are 1,000, 2,000 years when things are stabilized. Aurobindo gives the example of Sri Krishna in the Mahabharata, that for nearly 2,000 years, because of his tremendous influence and the work he had come to do, the new nation that he established, it maintained itself. Great kings, great instruments, vibhutis came up.
Beauty, harmony.
Yeah, everything. But then subsequently, again the decline comes. So now there is a change of plan. And the change of plan is actually the original plan. Normally we have plan A, then plan B. With God, it's plan B followed by plan A. Because plan B is a preparation for plan A. So over a period of time, through this victory, what is happening is that there is a contact between the divine consciousness and its shadow. And this contact progressively changes it, prepares it for the victory in the truest sense, which is a transformation. Because after all, it is the shadow of the Lord and it must be transformed. So Ashupati is entering into the den of darkness with this consciousness, with this aspiration. He doesn't go there to annihilate it, but to discover what is lying at its roots. And what he will discover is something amazing that comes much later. But meanwhile, he is describing it for us. And as we will always see in all of these Aurobindo's revelations in Savitri, the beautiful descriptions, we have two, three things at the same time. For example, straight away he is describing a layer of consciousness. So we'll see that, that there is a domain of darkness and how it operates and what are the beings there and what are the energies, how does it influence men, etc., etc. Then we will also see a parallel on earth physically of something of that domain, because earth holds all types into its vast bosom. That's why she is, the great mother. The divine loves earth. He doesn't go on any other planet or any other plane of consciousness, but on earth he is born again and again because she has chosen to bear the burden. So she gives place even to the darkest beings on earth. There is a corner for everyone. So we'll see it reflected on certain geographical locations and historical events and circumstances of earthly life, and we'll see yes, we'll see yes, that's it. At the same time, very symbolically, he will also reveal states of consciousness within us. So we'll know, yes, now it's the influence of darkness, now it's the influence of light. And to put it in a very summary way, it's there in one of her prayers that she says, as she comes down from an identification with the Supreme, where she gets a command, turn towards earth. So she comes down and she says, all the gradations of the worlds appear. At first they were harmonious, beautiful, luminous. And as she comes down, they become more and more troubled, dark. The energies become chaotic, disorderly. And then she experiences, when I saw our own children flung upon each other. And then a prayer goes from her, because ultimately the Asura, the Sura, gods, the demons, they are all in the last analysis her children. Yeah. And they are fighting. Even the gods are fighting with each other. Quarrel
she
of the
even
gods.
says,
yes,
they are my children.
Yes. Everyone is fighting. Fighting for what? Because at the center there is the ego, whether it's an individual life or group life. And then she prays to the Supreme, and then she says, which is her own being, she says, and the response comes, and she knows that the earth is saved. So right now we have a description which we'll see will work at several levels. And the very first line, then the scene changed, but kept its dreadful core. So now it's a progressive disorder, anarchy, chaos, disorganization. So now the scene is changing.
Alok Bhai, even in book 6,
yes,
when Narad is descending,
yes,
he's singing all these wonderful things.
Yes.
And as he gets closer to the
he
earth,
sings of suffering and pain
yes,
and tears. And as he sang, the demons wept with joy. Because they knew that now this messenger is coming. Savitri's advent is close by.
The task is over.
Yes. Because whenever Narad goes, some divine event is going to take place. So they are longing for that end.
Yes.
So the scene has changed, but only the scene has changed. The dreadful core is the same. So
yes,
it gives us
yes,
immediately just manipulating appearances and outwardly, it doesn't help. See, we had League of Nations, then you had UNO, then you have all kinds of groups. But unless you change inside, the core is still the ego of nations. Altering its form, the life remained the same. A capital was there without a state. Now it's very interesting. Basically, what does it mean? Where can there be a capital without a state? Of course, we have right now ISIS, a quick example. All that is left of ISIS is just a small little hold, which they say it's the empire and this is the capital, but everything else is crumbling.
But they have no state.
No state. Maybe Somalia, maybe there are places which are like that. So basically it means that there is still a center, but all else is in chaos. So there is no state. Normally state means it's defined in a nice, there is a form, there is a structure, there is an organization, there is a functioning, there is a rule, there is a law, but there is none of these things. It's literally what is called as Rakshasa Raj, the
yes,
reign of
yes.
the demon. There is no law. The only law is that whoever feels whatever they feel like doing, they do it. So it's a lawlessness, but there will be a capital where the king himself embodies this. So in our own life, when our life is governed in a disorderly way, when there is no organization, when we are driven by any and every impulse from this side to that side, then we are again in the same state of consciousness, and we get in touch with the beings and energies of this world who will drag us towards despair, depression, and darkness. It had no ruler, only groups that strove. Easy to look at our nature. Mind pulling in one direction, heart in another, passions in another, life energies in still others, hungers and appetites and everything in different direction. So we say yes, there is center, something called as me, but all the groups are striving, and you'll see characteristically in terrorist group, they fight with each other. Look at, one of the greatest, most difficult thing to understand for many people is that it's okay, Muslims say that they are persecuted. But maximum Muslims are killed by Muslims. It's pure data. It's look at what's happening even as late as yesterday in Pakistan. There was a terrorist attack being planned by one set of terrorists on the holy day which is going to come. Shias and Sunnis fighting from God knows since when. So these groups are fighting with each other. Even there they want domination. So this is and everywhere, but this is something very prominent and in today's times very obvious. He saw a city of ancient ignorance, founded upon a soil that knew not light. So this is the domain which had never seen light. That story of the lost horizon, where he goes in search of Shangri-La. So here the people didn't know what is darkness. They don't know what is death. They don't know what is misery. They don't know what is illness. Here is another, it's shadow, where they don't know what is light.
Yeah.
You try to bring home nice, beautiful things, but they don't understand because they are not living in that light. There, each in his own darkness walked alone. And it's so true that, when we are oppressed with this sense of I am all alone, it can be in a highest sense, which is very beautiful. But this sense that, everybody hates me, nobody likes me, this dark depression, basically it's a state of darkness. Now, why it cuts us off? Even when people love you, it doesn't reach you. Because we are surrounded with the darkness and we can't see light which is trying to reach out to us. I mean, it's so sad. Sometimes, people end up giving up their life in that state.
Yeah.
Because they feel nobody loves, whereas everybody loves, everybody cares. There's so many friends, parents, close ones who are trying to reach out, but, the person doesn't understand because he's surrounded by the darkness.
Yet the light is everywhere.
Yet the light is everywhere. In fact, at a higher level, you see there is nothing else but light. But because of this darkness which envelops clouds, so look at it. There each in his own darkness walked alone. Only they agreed to differ in evil's paths.
Just what you were saying.
Yes. So if you see these groups, it's amazing. If you just list out the number of groups which are part of terror outfits just in one country, you will see so many of them. You list out at least 10 names. It's strange, So they're all differing in areas and how their strategies, differing in evil's paths. To live in their own way for their own selves, or to enforce a common lie and wrong. So this is the hallmark and propaganda, common lie. And they believe that, if we really indulge in propaganda, at some point it will be believed as truth. So they keep on creating propaganda, because by enforcing this lie, they believe that the human mind will one day start believing in it and become a captive. You see, and it's everywhere. You see, some of these gurus, we just had recently some of them arrested and put behind bars, which is an action of supramental truth. But by enforcing this common lie,
But in Kerala, it's pretty bad now.
oh yes, this is happening everywhere. You see,
Yeah.
now it's very strange. You see, look at China's strategy all around with 14 neighbors. It says this territory is mine because some Ming dynasty ruled it, some other dynasty. Now they don't fight. So what is the strategy? They believe that if for 200, 300, 500 years they just keep the map like this,
Yeah.
people will end up one day believing that this is true.
Exactly.
And just,
Yeah.
given exactly what happened with Tibet, that this is true. So you end up conceding that territory by enforcing this common life. And everybody there believes because this is what is taught. Like in Pakistan, the history starts from, 1947. Civilization ends 5,000 years back. Now, this is not true. How much ever you may try to enforce it, it's ridiculous. But, this is how this common lie goes. And then comes the master's line to remember, their ego was lord upon his peacock seat. Peacock seat is the seat of victory. So who was sitting on that throne where the divine should sit? Ego.
And next to him,
And falsehood sat by him, his mate and queen. The world turned to them as heaven to truth and God. And we just saw this recently. In India, we had recently one Babaji with, with mate and queen, got behind bars. And typical example of, falsehood by the side as mate and queen, and ego sat as lord upon the peacock seat. And people are taken away because it's the force of propaganda, a tremendous influence. Such stories, fantastic story about himself and at some point human mind is so gullible, suggestible, and in India it's so easy to fool people in the name of sannyasi or a guru. Unless you have the psychic discrimination, people are carried away. So, but the hallmark, the warning point should be ego. If it is sitting there, same thing within us. So very often people, have this, they put stickers, you will see, mother sticker in front of scooter, behind scooter, here, there, everywhere, So somebody had once asked me that why don't you put you don't want to put a sticker. I say mother symbol is, if I reproduce it inside, I'll be more than grateful. Which means center should be mother. Around her, in all the four parts of my nature, mind, heart, life and body, there should be Maheshwari, Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, Mahasaraswati. And outwardly in the outer nature, there should be the 12 qualities. If this symbol is there, you don't need anything else.
no advertising.
No advertising. So this is the real meaning of the symbol. It's not something external. Okay? It's all right if you put it, it's nothing wrong with it. But I'm just saying that the real thing is inside. But if ego is sitting and next to it is sitting falsehood, then how much ever you may take, it's a meaningless ticket. That's how Aurobindo puts it. A symbol is a meaningless ticket unless it reproduces the thing that it represents.
Yes.
So if you are aspiring for it or embodying it or wanting to embody it in your life, then it has a meaning. Then it's a reminder that, mother, you should be the center. But if we are just living with the ego, then we are just subscribing to this world of falsehood and wanting people to praise us, to turn to us. So many examples come to my mind, including the patriarchal societies where, the father had to be worshipped and respected as God. There was none beyond mother and father, and, it's a sad thing.
Yes.
God is God. You can't confuse him with, human parents. However good is fine, but, the divine is divine, transcends everything. Now, wonderful lines. Injustice justified by firm decrees. Now we will see ISIS being described. That's why we should have hope. Aurobindo has seen all this. 100 years back he has seen.
Yeah.
Look at it. Injustice justified by firm decrees, the sovereign weights of errors legalized trade. But all the weights were false and none the same. Ever she washed with her balance and a sword, lest any sacrilegious word expose the sanctified formulas of her old misrule. Look at,
What magnificent lines.
and we can now, it's so easy to look at it. What happens in ISIS? Same thing.
Yeah.
Marry, talak, she has to sleep with another man, then you can get her back. I mean, it's so obvious, it's something very dark. No sensible society, no rational, right thinking human being, forget about psychically developed human being or a religiously devout, can ever give sanction to this, but sanction. And it's everywhere. Look at, some of the 200 years back, what was happening in Hindu societies. Same thing, it was happening in another way. Women who were widowed, what kind of situation in which they lived, they had to be tonsured, they are not supposed to go and, attend a wedding. Look at what was happening in Christianity. I mean, all religions, same story. Here we are observing it now in this point of time because the others have evolved beyond their, that period.
Hopefully.
Yeah, at least that darkest phase is over. But here is legalized trade. And then again he cautions us because very often we are carried away with visiting card. Oh, learned person, highly qualified. Oh, he is a PhD. From where? From Harvard. He must be. Whatever he is saying must be truth. Look here. In high professions, wrapped self-will walked wide. Self-will, doctor, high profession, meant to have compassion. But what is operating behind him? Money, my personal interest, my name and fame, publishing a case, all this in high professions. And license stalked, prating of order and right. There was no altar raised to liberty. True freedom was abhorred and hunted down. Harmony and tolerance nowhere could be seen. Each group proclaimed its dire and naked law. Look at these Maoists. No altar raised to liberty. No harmony. No tolerance.
Yeah.
It is called, what is it called? Kangaroo courts. Where, they decide things by the barrel of a gun, by violence. And yet they talk about we want to be free. Free from the state because the state oppresses us. But look at, there is no harmony, no tolerance. You see extreme left vociferously. They talk about intolerance, but they are some of the most intolerant people. The ideology is so intolerant. The moment you bring anything to do with God, religion, divinity, regardless of anything, it will be cut down and shut down. So, now these things are coming to light, because truth is working everywhere and showing us. A frame of ethics, so they also have some kind of ethics. But look at this ethics. There is a lot of humor here, but dark humor, satire on human nature. A frame of ethics knobbed with scriptural rules, or a theory passionately believed and praised. A table seamed of high heaven's sacred code. This is the kind of religion that the mother did not want anymore. She was asked about Aurobindo. She said, yes, no religion, but she said you should be very careful. Religion is where there is dogma, where there are fixed belief systems. That she defines it. And then she says there are some religions which are seemingly secular and do not believe in God, but they are equally worse, like ideologies.
Yes.
She just stopped short of saying for our good ideologies,
I'll say something a little dangerous.
Yes.
My friend,
We are dealing with danger, please.
my
say.
friend recently wrote to me that the Russian church has declared Sri Aurobindo and Mother a cult.
Yeah. They have declared many things. They asked us, by the way, when we went to Russia, they asked, not me, but they asked two of my friends from
I see.
ashram.
Oh.
So they were suddenly held back.
Oh.
We went past the visa, myself and my wife.
Uh-huh.
Now we suddenly saw them disappear, so we waited and waited with, very anxious and waited moment, and we had nothing to do but call mother. Then we went and asked the visa officer, but he just saying, no, they'll come. So now they'll come. Now you don't know, you can't. So finally they came, they asked, ultimately they came. To cut the long story short, they were asking them, are you from Krishna? Actually, he came and asked me also. It was very interesting. So, they were very worried that if these are Krishna people, Krishna brings revolution everywhere. Well, that's a fact. Krishna means Mahabharata is going to happen. Very scared of Krishna.
But do you think they meant Hare Krishna or Krishna?
Well, they meant Hare Krishna, but if you are a little intelligent person, you should
Right.
know the distinction. I mean, educated person, you can't do this. We are not living in some medieval world that, you don't know the difference between Krishna, Mahabharata and Hare Krishna movement and, different cults which have sprung up. You should be informed enough. So anyways, whatever it was, luckily, he asked me, they came out and very decently, he asked me the same same question. Are you from Krishna? Now, Krishna has his ways. So, if I would have understood, I would have been quick to react, yes, with, joy in my heart. But I just didn't hear. Krishna was sounding very strange. Maybe the pronunciation. So, at the end of it, I said, no, because I just didn't understand what is he asking. I just knew this. He's not saying Pondicherry. He's not saying Aurobindo. You see, when you say from Krishna, you normally think some place. So, my mind was, Krishna had my buddhi in his total control. And so, I end up saying no, which was obviously not true. But, it was the truth.
But it satisfied him.
Yes. So they all came. Now, it's unfortunately, this is a paranoia gripping everywhere. And how long can you isolate things like this? I mean, this again, I must add a corrective because people often ask me. I see Russians as people are very nice. They're mystically oriented, and
Definitely.
I really feel a close affinity with them. And I feel people everywhere are nice. I've been to every country. I've seen people are very nice, but the governments are the tricky part. So this government and the administrative machinery, they won't let people come together. I'm telling you, even in Pakistan, people are nice. In an average, Chinese will be nice. But the governments, the stronghold of the Asuras, they don't want. So they will foment, they will never do anything which can bring harmony.
Yeah.
In Pakistan, there are a lot of people who feel an affinity to Indians. And they probably would not mind India and Pakistan coming together. So churches, they will never want that, churches, by that I mean a generic word. Churches, mosques, temples, they will never want that people should actually start believing in divine and multiple approaches and going beyond and, realizing that each path carries its own divinity. They won't allow. Because then they become jobless, And people are scared of becoming jobless. So this is the situation, and we are giving this beautiful description. A table saint of high heaven's sacred code. A formal practice mailed and iron shod gave to a rude and ruthless warrior kind, drawn from the savage bowels of the earth, a proud, stern poise of harsh nobility, a civic posture rigid and formidable. Look at it, bowels of the earth, subconscious terrains. So they also have a kind of God, a kind of ethics, because based on who we are, what we are, the stage of evolution, we see the divine in that light. The other day we were actually reading Aurobindo's poem Rakshasa. So the Rakshasa sees divine as Rudra, the mighty. He doesn't see Shiva the benevolent, compassionate. He sees Shiva the destroyer, angry, wrathful, because that's how he appreciates. He sees Kali as an Asuri, because she slays, so he will worship, because he wants those things. So at each level we have a reflection of divinity, a formal ethics code, like previously in some dark age people used to believe in offering human beings as sacrifice. So, this still persists and it takes various forms
Now
in
it's
our life.
almost 70 years
Yes.
since Savitri was written, and every line seems pertinent to us today.
Yes. And we can identify, look at it.
Yeah.
A proud, stern poise of harsh nobility.
Yeah.
Look at it. A civic posture, rigid and formidable.
Yeah.
This is not there, but outwardly, we are very nice beings, and because this is what falsehood is. But look at what follows. But all their private acts belied the pose. Since we are at ruthlessly exposing the dark underbelly, somebody was telling me recently who had lived in the Middle East. He said, what happens? This is not my personal experience, but I can connect with it. I have known something similar at another level. So he says these sheikhs, when they go for holidays, so all the ladies come burqa clad. Then many of them will take off the burqas while they are in flight. They'll go to European countries, have a nice time. Before coming, they want to have an ultrasound done for pregnancy. And then again, when they are back, the burqa is, Now, this is hypocrisy and falsehood. You are neither believing in what you are doing, and basically you enjoy, you are the same pleasure-loving person, but worse because you are putting on a mask, and a mask of the worst kind. So here it is that, but all their private acts belied the pose. Power and utility were their truth and right. This is the real cult. These people, even when they turn to God, they want power. And power for what? For their personal use. An eagle rapacity clawed its coveted good. Beaks pecked and talons tore all weaker prey. This almost gives a graphic description on a very physical plane.
Exactly.
Eagle rapacity.
Yeah.
Claws, beaks, talons, prey. Look at the whole description is there. Now I need not specify further. In their sweet secrecy of pleasant sins, where you have a right to have harems, but the woman has no right. Nature they obeyed and not a moralist God. So they were just driven by their own impulses, but outwardly they all put on a show. Inconscient traders in bundles of contraries, they did what in others they would persecute.
See that.
And now, word of caution for everyone. When we observe faults of others, and then we develop a righteous wrath, Aurobindo cautions us, this too is darkness. When their eyes looked upon their fellows wise, and indignation flamed, a virtuous wrath, oblivious of their own deep hid offense. Mob-like, they stoned a neighbor caught in sin. This used to happen. We know Christ's famous story. And mother says once, that everybody has become a defender of truth. It's their in agenda. And all of them have their hobby horse. This is the word she uses, hobby horse. She says some have their hobby horse for vegetarianism. So if they see somebody is non-vegetarian, they say he is not a sadhak, he should be thrown out. Some have something else, some have something else. And then she says, what can I do? I only told them cling to truth. But they don't understand, each of them have their own truth. So she says, nobody cares to think that maybe I may be wrong. It may be just an opinion and not truth. And then she goes to another extreme. They say, they come and tell me, when the disciple tells her that yes, the defenders of truth are sometimes worse because, this righteous wrath and all this. She says, yes, but what extent they go? They come and tell me, they show me the passage from Aurobindo where he says, remember, truth and falsehood cannot stay together. So they come and show me and they tell me, mother, it is written in the mother by Aurobindo, as if I don't know it.
Yeah.
They want me to take action against those who are sinning. So, these are sample things. They are everywhere. And we should be so careful when in our own consciousness we develop this feeling that we are superior, we are virtuous, we are righteous, and others are bad guys, they are wrong people. We should be careful. Each of us have our own shibboleths. And while there are degrees, there are qualities, we can avoid company, all that is fine. It doesn't mean that let's bathe together in the dirty tub. No, it doesn't mean that. But it does mean that, work upon the difficulties that we have. And not keep on pointing fingers at this person or that person. Because that is also part of the world of falsehood and night. A pragmatist judge within past false decrees. Posed worst iniquities on equity's base. Reasoned ill actions just. Sanctioned the scale of the merchant ego's interest and desire. This is their real cult, and this is what they really are looking for. Few more lines and then we can stop. Thus was a balance kept, the world could live. In that world, yes, there is ethics, we have rule, there is God, there is religion, there is a sacred book, etc., etc.
But don't let someone speak.
Yes. Ever speak a word against the Pope, against the priest, against the mullah, against the head fellow. It's you can't do that.
Yeah.
So here comes this line: a zealot fervor pushed their ruthless cults, expansionist.
Yeah.
Even we should be very careful. Even Mother's and Aurobindo's work never with an evangelistic fervor. We are not here to convert hundreds of people. It will poison the work. So sometimes people ask me, so I said, see, what we are doing is the joy of Savitri, the joy, their light, their love, we're just sharing it. But the moment we start saying, Mother and Aurobindo are God, all of you must believe. If I have seen sometimes people going to Samadhi with their children, and other day I saw one, I had to almost stop the person. It's very amusing and funny. There is an elderly person with a little child who is little child, so he's enjoying looking here, and he's holding his head or her head, and he's not comfortable that he is not bored, so he's trying to force the head to touch. Now the child is resisting.
Mother has a story about this. She said she saw the mother push the child's head on the samadhi, and she said, you see, they're already making a religion out of it.
And what happened? So this, in fact, now we can share this beautiful story you were mentioning about.
Yes, please.
Today's story. Maybe we should start with something beautiful. Yeah. Yes. So one child came, and beautiful child, and she came with her mother, and mother asked that Alok Das recording is there. Would you come? And she said no. I said I love it. The child is so straight and frank. So she said, she's very nice, very friendly child, 6-year-old, 6.5. She said, they tell everywhere to meditate. I said, yeah, this is really very wrong. Everybody wants you to meditate. So I said, what do you mean by meditation? Everybody close your eyes and pray. I said, they have told you these things. Yes, that's what I am told. So I said, no, but I'll tell you something else. If you are caught up in such a situation, what you should do? So I said, you do one thing. You start making a story of you with the mother. She said, yes, I can do that. Then she started making a story. I said, can you make a story now? She said, yes. She said, okay, tell me. You are going with mother. Where all you will go? She said, I'll go with mother on the beach road. I said, okay. Next, where you'll go? She said, to space. Straight away from beach road to space. I said, lovely. Where will you go then? She said, here, there, she was saying. I said, what will you tell mother? So she was telling her. Then I said, what will you ask mother? She said, I'll say, mother, you be forever with me. I said, you know what? You don't need meditation. Meditation is for kindergarten stuff. So her mother was also so happy and so surprised. I say, you don't need meditation. So next time you don't do meditation, you make a story with mother when you are sitting there. This you won't mind. He said, yes, this I don't mind. So I said, see, anytime you go, they will switch off the lights and people will look at you if your eyes are open. So mother said, Alok, what happens is that people get disturbed. I said, don't worry, if they are getting disturbed by such a sweet child, they don't know how to meditate, you don't worry, she will teach them how to meditate, you don't worry. Then she said, but my mother, she takes, it's very long, they shut the door and all. I said, yeah, you have a short story, your mama has a long story to tell. She said, why? I said, look, what is her age? So she said her age. I said, so she has many, many stories to tell to mother. You have right now few stories. So she will take time. No, you don't mind that. She said, yes, she should tell long story.
Beautiful.
So, it was so natural. But we turn it into a formal practice as if the child is not bowed down and touched the head, it's a blasphemy. So, we should be very careful. Children should grow in joy and light. And otherwise they end up resisting. Yes. This happening inside in the school also sometimes when some teachers start telling the children forcibly, mother said so, as if they are doing now suddenly a great sin. Now it's not healthy, because children unwittingly develop a resistance. I remember meeting some children who grew up believing that mother was a very strict and stern judge. So it took me time to tell them that it is not so. She is love and compassion. And these children, but how do you know? Now, because they are being told by some of these
teachers,
oldies who have, interacted with mother. Now, how can I say that I know it? It's less authentic that way. So I had to, make them meet some of these, in front. I deliberately once I asked Taradi, I said, Taradi, you have had so many memories of mother. What do you feel was most prominent about mother? And Taradi is extremely disciplined person.
Yes.
I wanted her deliberately to speak out, And she said, most prominent, I can only say one thing, love. Love. I said, when she says, people will at least, believe, because she has grown up with the mother. Her love. But these religions and cults are not based on love. They are based on ego. They are based on division. They are based on falsehood. They are based on a false sense of superiority. They are based on creating more and more divisions than already exist, whereas it was meant to unify mankind in a common aspiration towards the beyond. So I think we should stop on this beautiful note.
Yes.
And continue.
Monday.